I can play for a meal." They laughed at him, not imagining he was a professional pianist. Catherine Reynolds was adjusting the final details of the charity cocktail event when she saw that man enter the main hall of the Grand Plaza Hotel. The smell arrived before he did, a mixture of days without a shower and clothes that seemed not to have seen a laundry in weeks. "Excuse me, ma'am," said the man, approaching the grand piano that shone under the crystal chandelier. "May I play a song in exchange for a plate of food?" Catherine felt the blood rush to her head. How had that beggar gotten past security? She looked around and saw some guests already whispering and pointing in their direction. "Are you crazy?" she replied, trying to keep her voice low. "This is a private event. Get out of here immediately." The man didn't move. His eyes, though tired, had a firmness that bothered Catherine. "Please, ma'am, just one song. I haven't eaten anything in 2 days." Amanda Wilson, Catherine's assistant for 3 years, approached laughing. "Catherine, look at this. A beggar who plays piano," she said, already grabbing her phone to record. "This is going to be hilarious." "Amanda, don't do that," whispered Catherine, but it was too late. "Come on, buddy," Amanda continued, filming. "Play something so we can see if you really know how." Other guests began to approach, some laughing, others just curious. Catherine realized the situation was getting out of control. "Security!" she called, gesturing to 2 uniformed men at the entrance. "Please," the man begged, placing his hands on the piano. "Just one chance, one song, and I'll leave." Catherine was about to order him removed when she saw Dr. Richard Thompson, one of the charity's main donors, approaching with curiosity. "What's all this commotion, Catherine?" asked the doctor, observing the scene. "Nothing serious, doctor. Just a problem we're about to take care of," she replied, but felt she needed to act more carefully in front of the sponsor. "Let the man play," said Dr. Richard, surprising everyone. "If he really knows how, it won't hurt to listen." Catherine found herself cornered. Refusing the main donor's request would be a disaster. "All right," she said through her teeth. "One song, just one, and then you leave." The man nodded and went to the piano bench. His hands trembled slightly as he placed them on the keys. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing." When the first notes echoed through the hall, Amanda's laughter died in her throat. The music coming from the piano was not what anyone expected from a shabby man. It was a complex melody, played with an impeccable technique that made everyone present stop what they were doing. Catherine felt a shiver. She knew that music from somewhere but couldn't remember where. The man played with his eyes closed, as if he were in another world, his hands gliding over the keys with a naturalness that only comes from years of practice. "My God," murmured Dr. Richard, "this man is an artist." Amanda had stopped filming, hypnotized by the performance. Other guests approached in silence, forming a circle around the piano. The music filled every corner of the hall, creating an almost magical atmosphere. When the last note faded, a deep silence took over the room. The man slowly opened his eyes and rose from the bench. "Thank you," he said simply. "May I go get something to eat in the kitchen now?" The question broke the spell. Catherine recovered from the shock and remembered where she was. You play very well," she admitted, still confused. "But this changes nothing. This is no place for you." "Catherine," Dr. Richard approached. "What composition was that? It sounded familiar." "I thought so too, but I can't remember," she replied, still watching the man who awaited an answer. "May I know your name?" the doctor asked the pianist. The man hesitated for a moment. Michael Williams." "Well, Michael, that was an extraordinary performance," said Dr. Richard, taking some bills from his wallet. "Here, buy something to eat." "No," Catherine intervened. "We can't encourage this. If we give money, tomorrow we'll have a line of beggars here." Dr. Richard looked at her with disapproval. "Catherine, this man has exceptional talent. He's not an ordinary beggar." "Talent doesn't justify trespassing on private property," she retorted. but her voice sounded less convincing. Michael took the money Dr. Richard offered him and nodded in gratitude. "Thank you, Doctor." "Ma'am, you don't need to worry," he said, looking at Catherine. "I won't be back." He walked toward the exit, followed by the stares of everyone present. Amanda, who had recorded the end of the performance, was already posting the video on her social media. "Guys, you won't believe what happened here," she was saying into her phone. "A homeless man played piano better than any concert pianist I've ever seen." Catherine felt a pang of irritation. "Amanda, delete that video right now," she ordered. "Why? It's amazing. It already has 50 likes. Because I said so. This is a private event, and you don't have permission to share anything without my approval." Amanda seemed reluctant, but didn't delete the video. Instead, she just turned off her phone and walked away. The rest of the evening passed in a strange atmosphere. The guests wouldn't stop commenting on the man's performance. Some praised his talent, others questioned the event's security. Catherine tried to regain control of the situation, but she could tell the focus had completely shifted. When the event finally ended, she was exhausted. She had raised a good amount for the charity, but she couldn't get the image of that man playing piano out of her head. The next day, Catherine was woken up by a call from Amanda. "Catherine, you need to see this. The video went viral. It already has over 100,000 views." "What video?" she asked, still sleepy. "Of yesterday's Pianist. I couldn't delete it. People had already shared it. Now it's everywhere." Catherine jumped out of bed and ran to the computer. The video was indeed spread across several platforms, with sensationalist titles like "Homeless Man Humiliated," "Plays Piano Like a Virtuoso," and "The Music That Silenced an Entire Ballroom." Her phone started ringing incessantly. Journalists wanted interviews. People criticized her attitude, others defended her position. Within hours, she had become the center of a national controversy. "Amanda, come here now," she said on the phone. "We need to talk." While waiting for her assistant to arrive, Catherine read the comments on the video. Most harshly criticized her attitude, calling her prejudiced and insensitive. A few people defended that she was right to protect the event, but they were the minority. A notification appeared on her screen. Her daughter Emma, a music teacher in New York City, had tried to call 3 times. "Mom," said Emma as soon as Catherine answered, "I just saw the video. How could you treat that man that way?" "Emma, you don't understand the situation. He trespassed at a private event." "Mom, I know talent when I see it. That man is not an ordinary beggar. The music he played, it's an extremely rare composition. Very few people in the world know how to play it." Catherine felt a growing unease. "What composition?" "It's a piece by the composer Leonard Bernstein, but a version that was only played publicly once, over 20 years ago, by a pianist named Michael James Wilson. After that, it disappeared from repertoires." "Michael James Wilson?" Catherine repeated the name, trying to remember where she'd heard it. "Mom, I'm going to New York tomorrow. I need to find this man. If he really is who I think he is, you made a terrible mistake." The call ended and Catherine stared silently at her phone. Amanda arrived half an hour later, finding her sitting in the living room, still in her pajamas. "Catherine, everyone is talking about the video. Even Kelly Ripa's show mentioned it." "Amanda," said Catherine with a tired voice, "tell me exactly what you know about that man." "Nothing beyond what you saw. He showed up, asked to play, you let him, he was amazing, and left." "Didn't you think it was strange the way he played, the song he chose?" Amanda thought for a moment. "Now that you mention it, it really was a different song. Not popular at all. It seemed like something from a conservatory." Catherine spent the rest of the morning researching Michael James Wilson. She found some scattered information. A prodigy pianist who had disappeared from the American music scene in the 2000s after a scandal that was never fully clear. The old photos showed a young man, well-dressed, with bright eyes and a confident smile. It was hard to connect that image with the shabby man from yesterday, but Catherine began to notice some similarities. In the afternoon, Emma arrived in New York, determined to find the man from the video. She knew the main spots where homeless people usually took shelter and began her search there. "Do you know a man named Michael? He plays piano," she asked at each place. On the third try at a shelter in Queens, a worker nodded positively. Michael the musician? Sure, he stays here sometimes, but he didn't come yesterday or today. He must be around, at the square or near the train station. Emma thanked her and continued looking. She found him late in the afternoon, sitting on a bench in Union Square watching the children play. "Excuse me," she said, approaching carefully. "Are you the man who played piano at the hotel yesterday?" Michael looked at her suspiciously. "Depends on who's asking." "My name is Emma. I'm the daughter of the woman who organized the event, and I'm also a music teacher." "Oh," he said with a bitter smile. "Came to lecture me too?" "No. I came to apologize for my mother's behavior, and because I need to know, are you Michael James Wilson?" The man went still. For a long moment, he just watched Emma in silence. "That name died a long time ago," he said finally. "So it is you." Emma sighed. "My God, what happened?" Michael got up from the bench. "It's none of your business, girl. Go home and forget you saw me." "Wait!" Emma followed him. "Please, let me help. Whatever happened, you don't deserve to live like this." "You know nothing about me," he retorted, quickening his pace. "I know you were one of the greatest pianists in the United States. I know you disappeared suddenly and no one ever knew why. And I know that yesterday, even though you were humiliated, you played with a passion that made everyone forget about everything else." Michael stopped and turned to her. "Why is this so important to you?" Emma took a deep breath. "Because music is my life, and because I saw in you something I haven't seen in my students for years, pure passion for the art." "Passion doesn't pay the bills, girl." "Maybe not, but it also shouldn't be wasted like this." Michael seemed to reflect on her words. "Your mother made it very clear yesterday what she thinks of people like me." "My mother. She's complicated. She's lost her sensitivity for some things over the years, but I know deep down she's a good person." "She didn't seem very good yesterday." Emma couldn't argue with that. "Do you have a place to sleep tonight?" she asked. "I do. The shelter on Spring Street always has a spot. What if I could get you a better place? Temporarily until you get back on your feet." Michael studied her for a moment. "Why would you do that for me?" "Because talent like yours shouldn't be wasted. And because," she hesitated, "because I might need your help too." "My help?" "I have a special student, a boy with autism who doesn't respond to any traditional methods of music teaching. But yesterday, when I showed him the video of your performance, I saw something different in his eyes." Michael was intrigued despite himself. "How so?" "He was hypnotized by the music. It's the first time I've seen him react to anything like that." "And you think I can help?" "I don't know, but I'd like to try." Michael looked at the sky, which was beginning to darken. "Where do you live?" "On the Upper East Side. I have a guest room available." "And your husband? Will he accept a stranger in the house?" "My husband understands music, and he trusts my judgment." After a long hesitation, Michael nodded. "Just one night. Tomorrow I'll decide whether I stay or not." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us who are just starting out. Now continuing, Emma's apartment was cozy, decorated with framed sheet music and musical instruments scattered around the living room. Her husband, Daniel, a literature professor, welcomed Michael naturally, as if having famous pianists over for dinner was a common occurrence. "Emma told me about you," said Daniel, serving a plate of rice and beans. "It must have been difficult all these years." Michael ate in silence, savoring the first home-cooked meal he'd had in months. He noticed the couple avoided asking direct questions about his past, for which he was grateful. After dinner, Emma showed Michael the small studio she had set up in one of the rooms. Her digital piano, some chairs for students, and shelves full of teaching methods. "This is where I give lessons," she said. "Nothing too fancy, but it works." Michael approached the piano and played a few keys. The electronic sound didn't compare to the acoustic instrument at the hotel, but it was still music. "May I?" he asked, sitting on the bench. "Of course." Michael began playing the same piece from yesterday, but this time with variations that made it even more complex. Emma immediately recognized Michael James Wilson's unique style, confirming her suspicions. "How did you learn that music?" she asked when he finished. Michael hesitated before answering. "It was composed by someone very special to me." "Someone special?" "My teacher, Mrs. Martha. She passed away 5 years ago." Michael's voice caught. It was the first time in a long while that he had spoken about Mrs. Martha. "Was she your teacher at the conservatory?" "No, she was a lady who lived near my house when I was a child. Poor like us, but she could play piano like an angel. She taught me everything on an old, out-of-tune piano she had in her living room." Emma realized she was touching on a sensitive subject. "She must have been a very important person." "She was more than that. She was like a mother to me. When she got sick, I promised I would make her compositions known throughout the world." "And did you succeed?" Michael's face closed off. "I tried, and that's what destroyed my career." Emma wanted to ask more, but she sensed Michael wasn't ready to talk about it. "How about we rest?" she suggested. "Tomorrow you can meet my special student." Michael nodded and went to the guest room. For the first time in years, he would sleep in a real bed. The next morning, Emma prepared a hearty breakfast and waited for Michael to wake up. He appeared in the kitchen around 9, looking rested but still wary. "Did you sleep well?" she asked. "Better than I have in a long time," he admitted. "Thank you." "No need to thank me. How about meeting Ethan today?" "Ethan? My student, the boy I told you about yesterday." Michael drank his coffee thoughtfully. "I'm not a therapist, Emma. I don't know if I can help. You don't need to be a therapist. You just need to do what you did yesterday. Play from the heart." At 10 o'clock, Melissa Brown arrived with her 8-year-old son, Ethan. The mother seemed anxious, as she always did when trying something new to help the boy. "Ethan, this is Michael," said Emma, crouching down to the child's height. "He plays the piano very well." Ethan didn't look at Michael. He kept his eyes fixed on the ground, gently rocking his body back and forth as he did when he was nervous. "Hi, Ethan," said Michael, also crouching down. "Do you like music?" The boy didn't answer, but Emma noticed that he stopped rocking. "Ethan usually reacts like this when he meets new people," explained Melissa. But yesterday, when Emma showed him the video, he watched it very quietly. Michael went to the piano and began to play a simple, repetitive melody. It wasn't the complex piece from yesterday, but something soft and welcoming. Ethan lifted his head for the first time and looked in the direction of the sound. "What song is that?" whispered Emma. "Improvisation," replied Michael. "I'm trying to find something that speaks to him." Gradually, Michael began to modify the melody, making it more complex as he noticed that Ethan maintained his attention. The boy approached the piano, fascinated. "I've never seen him do that," murmured Melissa to Emma. Ethan stopped beside the piano and extended a finger, pressing a key. The sound mixed with Michael's music, creating an unexpected harmony. "Yes," encouraged Michael. "Play more." Ethan pressed other keys without any technique, but with genuine curiosity. Michael adapted his melody to incorporate the child's random notes, creating something unique and beautiful. For 20 minutes, man and child played together, each in their own world, but connected by music. When Michael finally stopped, Ethan smiled for the first time during the lesson. "Thank you," said the boy clearly, surprising his mother. "You're welcome, Ethan." "You play very well," replied Michael, moved. Melissa was crying. "He never said thank you spontaneously," she sobbed. "How did you do that?" Michael rose from the piano, also moved. "I didn't do anything. I just played for him. He was the one who opened his heart." After Melissa and Ethan left, Emma looked at Michael with admiration. "That was incredible. You have a special gift." "It's not a gift," said Michael. "It's just patience and love for music." "Would you consider giving him lessons? Regularly?" Michael hesitated. "Emma, I can't live here forever, and I can't afford a place of my own. What if I helped you with that? We can find you a temporary job until you get settled." "Why are you doing this for me?" Emma sat beside him on the sofa. "Because yesterday, when I saw the video of your performance, I remembered why I fell in love with music. And today, watching you with Ethan, I realized you're not just a talented pianist. You're a natural teacher." Michael was silent for a long moment. "There are things in my past you don't know, things that might change your opinion of me." "Then tell me." Michael stood up and walked to the window. "Not today. Maybe never. Some stories are too heavy to share." Emma respected his silence, but her curiosity about Michael's past only grew. That afternoon, while Michael was resting, Emma received a call from her mother. "Emma, where are you?" asked Catherine, her voice tense. "At home, Mom. Why?" "Because I've been bombarded by journalists since yesterday. Everyone wants to know about the pianist in the video. Did you manage to find him?" Emma hesitated before answering. "Yes, I did." "And? Is he really who you thought he was?" "Yes, Mom. It's Michael James Wilson." Catherine was silent for a moment. "Where is he now?" He's recovering. He spent years homeless, Mum. Years." "My God," murmured Catherine. "What happened to him?" "I don't know yet. He doesn't want to talk about it. But it's a sad story, I'm sure of it. Emma, I need to see him. I need to apologize for what happened yesterday. Mom, he's still very hurt. Maybe it's not a good idea. Please, I won't be able to sleep peacefully until I talk to him." Emma sighed. "Let me talk to him first. If he agrees, you can come tomorrow." When Michael woke up from his nap, Emma told him about her mother's call. "She wants to apologize?" he asked incredulously. "Yes, she does. I think she realized the mistake she made. Emma, your mother treated me like trash yesterday, in front of dozens of people. I know, and she knows it too. That's why she wants to apologize." Michael shook his head. "I don't know if I'm ready for that. You don't have to be, but maybe it's important for both of you." Michael thought for a moment. "If she comes, I'll talk to her, but only because you're asking." The next day, Catherine arrived at Emma's apartment full of nervousness. She carried a bag with sandwiches and juice in her hands, as if a meal could make up for the humiliation she had caused. Michael received her in the living room, wearing clean clothes that Daniel had lent him. He looked like a different man from the one who had appeared at the hotel 2 days before. "Michael," said Catherine with a trembling voice, I came to apologize." "For the sandwiches or for the humiliation?" he asked with irony. Catherine blushed. "For both. For what I said, for what I did. I was wrong." "You certainly were," Michael confirmed, "but that's nothing new. People like you always look at people like me and see only a problem to be solved." "People like me," Catherine defended herself. "You don't know me." "Oh, I do. I know you very well. I lived in your world for years." Emma noticed that the conversation was taking a dangerous turn. "How about we sit down?" she suggested. "We can talk more calmly." The three of them settled in the living room. Catherine seemed smaller, more fragile than Michael remembered. "You said you lived in our world," she commented. "What did you mean by that?" Michael looked at Emma, who nodded encouragingly. "I used to be like you, Catherine. Rich, influential, full of prejudices. I thought poor people were poor by choice. And what changed? Life taught me that none of us are safe from losing everything. Absolutely none." Catherine leaned forward. "What happened to you?" Michael stood up and walked to the piano. "I was a professional pianist. I had international contracts, record labels competing for my signature, critics praising my concerts. And then I made the mistake of wanting to honor the memory of the person who taught me everything. And that destroyed my life." Michael began to play softly as he spoke. "Mrs. Martha was a brilliant composer, but she never got recognition because she was poor and black. When she died, I tried to publish her music to give her the credit she deserved." "That's commendable," said Catherine. "It was. Until someone accused me of plagiarism." Emma approached. "Plagiarism?" "An influential music critic said that Mrs. Martha's compositions were actually works I had stolen from other composers. that I was using the death of a poor soul to cover up my intellectual theft. But did you have a way to prove it wasn't true? Michael stopped playing. Mrs. Martha was illiterate. She never registered her compositions. I learned them by ear in her house when I was a child. I had no way to prove they were really hers. And then the scandal destroyed my career. Contracts cancelled, record labels abandoned me, colleagues avoided me. In 6 months, I was on the street. Catherine was silent, absorbing the story. And you never tried to defend yourself? I tried for years, but the more I talked about Mrs. Martha, the more people thought I was making up excuses. And the critic who accused you became even more famous. To this day, he's respected in the music world. I'm the one who became the guy who tried to deceive everyone. Emma was visibly emotional. Michael, this is terrible. How many years has it been? 12? 12 years living on the streets, trying to forget I was ever someone. Catherine rose from the sofa. Michael, I didn't know. If I had known... Would you have treated me differently? He asked. Or would you have thought I deserved to be there because I was dishonest? The question caught Catherine off guard. She reflected for a moment before answering. Honestly, I probably would have thought you deserved it, that there was something wrong with you. At least you're honest, said Michael, with a bitter smile. But now I see I was wrong, completely wrong. Michael sat back down. You know what hurt me the most yesterday, Catherine? It wasn't the humiliation. It was seeing in your eyes the same distrust I saw in the eyes of people I considered friends 12 years ago. Michael, you looked at me like I was a dangerous animal, like my presence there was a personal offense to you. Catherine began to cry. You're right, that's exactly how I looked at you, and I hate myself for it. Why are you crying? Asked Michael, surprised by her reaction. Because my daughter spent her whole life telling me I was prejudiced, and I always denied it. Yesterday, in front of dozens of people, I proved she was right. Emma approached her mother and held her hand. Mom, what matters is that you recognize the mistake. But that doesn't erase what I did, sobbed Catherine. It doesn't erase the pain I caused. Michael watched the woman who had humiliated him cry remorsefully before him. He felt something strange in his chest. Not exactly forgiveness, but the beginning of something like it. Catherine, he said in a softer voice, what you did yesterday hurt. A lot. But it wasn't worse than things that have been done to me before. That doesn't comfort me at all, she replied. It makes me feel even worse. Why? Because it means there are other people like me. People who judge without knowing, who condemn without understanding. Michael moved closer to her. There are, but there are also people like Emma, people who see beyond appearances. Catherine looked at her daughter with pride and gratitude. She was always better than me. No, Mom, intervened Emma. You just lost your way for a while. Everyone does sometimes. Michael sat beside Catherine. You know what the first thought I had was when I walked into that hall yesterday? What? I thought about how Mrs. Martha would have been so happy to see such a beautiful place. She loved elegant things, even though she never had access to them. She was never in a place like that. Never. The fanciest place she ever knew was the neighborhood church on Sundays. Catherine dried her tears. Tell me more about her, if you want. Michael smiled for the first time since the conversation began. She was special. She had a way of seeing beauty in everything. A little bird singing, a child laughing, rain hitting the roof. Everything turned into music in her head. And she composed these songs. She composed and sang them. I spent hours sitting on the floor of her house, listening to those melodies that seemed to come straight from the heart. How did you meet her? My mother worked as a housekeeper for a wealthy family. Sometimes she took me along and left me at Mrs. Martha's house, who lived in the favela next door. Emma joined the conversation. And was she the one who taught you piano? Yes, on a broken little piano that someone had thrown away and she picked up. Half the keys didn't work, but she managed to teach me the basics there. When did you start playing professionally? At 15, a professor from the conservatory heard me playing on the street and offered me a scholarship. And was Mrs. Martha proud? Michael's smile became melancholic. She was, but she was also sad because she knew I would drift away from her as I grew in the music world. And did you drift away? I did, for years. I only went to look for her again when she was already ill. And then? Then she forgave me for abandoning her and made me promise that I would never let her music die with her. Catherine wiped her eyes again. Michael, I'm sorry if this is too personal, but have you never thought about trying to prove your innocence again? With today's social media, it might be easier. Michael shook his head. Catherine, I've spent 12 years trying to prove I'm not a thief. 12 years. I'm tired. But what if... No, he interrupted. I won't waste any more energy on this. I'd rather focus on good things, like teaching music to children like Ethan. Emma smiled. Speaking of Ethan, he's coming here again tomorrow. Would you be willing to give him another lesson? Of course, he's a special boy. Catherine seemed curious. Who's Ethan? A student of mine with autism, explained Emma. Yesterday, Michael managed to make an incredible connection with him through music. Really? Catherine perked up. I fund some institutions that work with special needs children. Maybe we could organize something bigger. Michael and Emma exchanged glances. What kind of thing? Asked Michael. I don't know. Music lessons, small concerts, something that would benefit other children like Ethan. Catherine, said Michael cautiously, I appreciate the intention, but I don't want to become anyone's charity project. It wouldn't be that. It would be paid, professional work. Michael grew thoughtful. Let me see how things develop with Ethan first. Then we can talk. Of course, no rush. The rest of the afternoon passed in a lighter atmosphere. Catherine and Michael talked about music, about the city, about small everyday things. Emma watched their growing closeness with satisfaction. When Catherine prepared to leave, Michael walked her to the door. Catherine, he said, thank you for coming to apologize. It meant a lot to me. Thank you for receiving me, and I'm sorry again for what happened. It's all right, really. Catherine hesitated for a moment. Michael, can I ask you a favor? You can. If one day you want to tell your story publicly, let me help. I have media contacts that could bring visibility to your case. Michael smiled. I'll think about your offer, I promise. After Catherine left, Emma approached Michael. How do you feel? Better. Your mother is different than I imagined. She has her flaws, but deep down she's a good person. I noticed that she was just afraid. Afraid? Afraid that I would disturb her neatly organized little world. It's a natural reaction. Emma smiled. You're more generous than I would be. Life has taught me to be generous. When you have nothing, you discover that the generosity of others is what keeps you alive. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The next morning, Ethan arrived more excited than the day before. He greeted Michael with a shy wave and went straight to the piano. Want to play with me again? Asked Michael. Ethan nodded energetically. This time Michael taught the boy a simple two-note melody, which Ethan repeated with impressive concentration. Very good, praised Michael. Now, let's try 3 notes. Melissa, Ethan's mother, watched the scene with emotion. Emma, what did you do to my son? He woke up humming today. Humming? I've never seen that before. That was Michael, replied Emma. He has a special way with children. During the lesson, Michael noticed that Ethan had exceptional musical intuition. The boy could identify melodic patterns and repeat them with impressive precision for his age. Ethan has perfect pitch, Michael commented to Emma. It's a rare gift. Really? Very serious. With the right training, he could become an extraordinary musician. After the lesson, Melissa approached Michael. Michael, may I ask you a personal question? Of course. Emma told me you went through some hard times. You don't need to go into details, but do you think teaching music could be a way to start over? Michael was touched by the question. Melissa, teaching Ethan these past 2 days reminded me why I fell in love with music. So yes, I think it could be a new beginning. That's wonderful. Because I have other friends with special needs children who would love to have lessons with you. Others? Yes. There's Jennifer, who has a daughter with Down syndrome, and Robert, who has a son with an intellectual disability. They're all looking for activities to help their children develop. Emma got excited about the idea. Michael, what if we set up a small teaching program? Nothing big, just for a few children. Michael hesitated. I don't know if I'm ready for something like that. Why not? Because working with special needs children requires preparation, technical knowledge. I can't just improvise. But you've already proven you have a natural gift, Melissa argued. The rest can be learned. Michael grew thoughtful. Let me think about it, okay? That afternoon, while Michael was resting, Emma received an unexpected call. It was a journalist from the Times. Emma Almeida, asked a male voice. My name is Jonathan Harris. I'm a reporter. I'd like to speak with you about the pianist who appeared in that viral video. Emma became alert. What specifically do you want to know? I'm investigating the story of Michael James Wilson. I've discovered some interesting things about his case. What kind of things? I'd prefer not to discuss it over the phone. Could we meet? Emma looked at Michael, sleeping on the sofa. I need to consult with some people first. May I call you back? Of course, but Emma, what I've discovered could completely change his life, for the better. The call ended, and Emma felt uneasy. She gently woke Michael. Michael, I need to tell you something. He opened his eyes, still sleepy. What is it? A journalist called. Said he discovered some things about your case that could change your life. Michael sat up quickly, fully awake. What kind of things? He wouldn't say over the phone. He wants to meet in person. Michael ran his hands through his hair, nervous. Emma, I don't want to stir up that story again. I don't want to relive all that. What if it's something good? What if he found a way to prove your innocence? What if it's just another journalist trying to sensationalize my misfortune? Emma sat beside him. Michael, you can't run from the past forever. Yes, I can. I'm rebuilding my life, remember? With the lessons, with Ethan. What if this new information helps you rebuild even better? Michael fell silent for a long moment. How did he get your number? He must have researched my mother's event and discovered we're mother and daughter. And what else does he know about me? I don't know, but he seemed very confident that he had something important. Michael stood up and began pacing the room. Emma, you don't understand. For years I chased every lead, every possibility to prove my innocence. They were years of frustration and disappointment. But what if this time is different? What if it's not? What if I get my hopes up again just to see them destroyed? Emma took his hands. Michael, look at me. Are you afraid to hope again? Michael nodded, his eyes moist. Very afraid. I understand. But I also understand that you can't live in fear forever. What if I agree to talk to this journalist and discover he just wants a sensational story? Then you say no, and that's that. But what if it's something real? Michael sighed deeply. All right, call him. But I want you to be present during the conversation. Of course. Emma called Jonathan Harris back, and they arranged to meet the next day at a quiet cafe in the Upper East Side. That night, Michael barely managed to sleep. He tossed and turned in bed, wondering what the journalist might have discovered. In the morning, he appeared in the kitchen with deep, dark circles under his eyes. Did you sleep poorly? Asked Emma. I didn't sleep at all. I spent the whole night thinking about what this guy might want. Michael, breathe. Let's hear what he has to say and then decide whether it's worth it or not. At 2 in the afternoon, they met with Jonathan Harris at the diner. The journalist was a middle-aged man with graying hair and an intelligent gaze. Michael James Wilson, he said, extending his hand. It's an honor to meet you. Michael shook his hand suspiciously. Emma said you discovered some things about my case. I did, and I believe you'll want to hear this. Jonathan opened a folder full of documents. 3 months ago, I began investigating cases of artists who were wronged in the American cultural scene. And? Your name appeared on several lists, always as an example of a career destroyed by false accusations. Michael grew tense. False accusations according to whom? according to some people who worked with you back then and never believed the official version. Jonathan took some photos out of the folder. Do you recognize these people? Michael looked at the photos and his face paled. Rachel Parker, William Roberts. They were musicians who participated in my recordings. Exactly. And they all told me the same thing, that they never believed you were capable of plagiarism. But that doesn't prove anything, said Michael bitterly. Opinion isn't proof. Jonathan smiled. You're right, but this is. He pulled a yellowed folder full of papers from his bag. What is that? They're letters. Letters from Martha Johnson to a nephew who lived in Pennsylvania. Michael's eyes widened. How did you... The nephew died last year. The family was cleaning out his house when they found these letters stored in a box. One of his granddaughters reached out to me after seeing the story about you. Emma leaned in to get a better look. And what do the letters say? Jonathan carefully opened one of the letters. In this one, from 1998, Mrs. Martha writes verbatim. My Michael is getting famous with his music. He said he's going to record some of my compositions and put my name as the author. I'm very proud of him. Michael felt the world spinning around him. Is there more? There is. In this one from 2001. Michael brought me the record label contracts. He's going to publish the CD with my music next year. Finally, the world will get to know the songs I created. Tears began to stream down Michael's face. Jonathan, do you have any idea what this means? Yes, I do. It means you never lied. Mrs. Martha really existed. She really composed, and she really authorized you to publish her works. Emma held Michael's hand, which was visibly trembling. Is there anything else? She asked. There is. The best part. Jonathan pulled out another document. This is a birth certificate. Martha Johnson was born in 1932 in New Orleans and died in 2010 in New York City, exactly as Michael always said. My God, murmured Michael, is this real? Am I not dreaming? It's real, and there's more. More. I managed to locate the man who accused you of plagiarism, Harold Barnes. The name made Michael stiffen. So what? He'll never admit he lied. He doesn't need to. I discovered he had access to your original recordings before he publicly accused you. How so? He worked at the record label as an external consultant. He had access to your material months before the release and used that information to build the accusations. Emma couldn't contain herself, but that's a complete setup. Exactly. And now I have a way to prove it. Michael was openly crying. Jonathan, why are you doing this? Why did you go to the trouble of investigating my case? Because injustice bothers me, and because I believe talent like yours shouldn't go to waste. What do you intend to do with this information? With your permission, I want to publish a full report showing the whole truth. I want to publicly clear your name. Michael looked at Emma, then back at Jonathan. And what if Harold Barnes denies everything? He can deny it, but the documents speak for themselves. And I've already spoken with other musicians from that time who are willing to give testimony. Which musicians? William Roberts, Rachel Parker, the producer Lewis Parker, everyone who worked with you and knew about your honesty. Michael was silent for several minutes, absorbing everything he had heard. Emma, what do you think? I think it's your chance to recover everything that was unfairly taken from you. But I've gotten used to this new life. Michael, Jonathan intervened. You can have both things. You can keep teaching special needs children and also return to the music scene. One doesn't exclude the other. Michael wiped his eyes. When do you want to publish the story? Whenever you authorize it, but the sooner the better. This story needs to be told. Michael took a deep breath. All right. You have my authorization. Are you sure? I am. For Mrs. Martha. For me. And for all the people who believed in me when no one else did. Jonathan smiled and closed his folder. Michael, get ready. Your life is going to change a lot in the coming days. For the better, I hope. For much better. When they left the diner, Emma hugged Michael on the street. How do you feel? Scared, relieved, anxious. All at the same time. he replied. Emma, what if people don't believe even with the evidence? They will believe, how could they not? Harold Barnes is very influential. He has powerful friends. But the truth is stronger than any influence. Michael looked up at the sky. Mrs. Martha, I hope you're watching this from wherever you are. I'm sure she is, said Emma, and she must be very proud. They returned home in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Michael was about to recover his dignity after 12 years of suffering. 3 days later, Jonathan Harris's report occupied the entire front page of the Times. The headline was, "The Redemption of Michael James Wilson, How a Pianist Was Wronged While Trying to Honor His Teacher." The story told the whole history, from Michael's childhood, his learning with Mrs. Martha, his rise in the music world, the false accusations, the years on the street, and finally, the discovery of the truth through the letters. Within hours, the story was being shared all over social media. Supportive comments arrived from all corners of the country. Other media outlets reached out to Michael for interviews. Catherine called him crying. Michael, I just read the report. I can't stop crying. What they did to you was monstrous. Thank you, Catherine. It means a lot to know you believe in me. Of course I believe, and I want to help in any way needed to fix this injustice. That same day, 3 record labels called offering contracts. 2 conservatories invited Michael to give talks. A theater in Los Angeles asked him to do a comeback concert, but the call that moved Michael the most came from someone unexpected. Michael, said a woman's voice on the phone, this is Rachel Parker. Do you remember me? Rachel, of course I remember. You played violin on my recordings. That's right. Michael, I wanted to apologize. Apologize for what? For not defending you back then, for believing the accusations without questioning. Rachel, you have nothing to apologize for. Yes, I do. I knew your character. I knew your honesty. I should have spoken up publicly. You were protecting your own career. I understand completely. It doesn't justify it, but now I want to make amends. I'm organizing a concert in your honor. Will you accept? Michael was moved. Of course I accept. It would be an honor to play with you again. Meanwhile, Harold Barnes, the critic who had destroyed Michael's career, watched his own world crumble. Contracts were cancelled, friends drifted away. His reputation lay in ruins. He tried to defend himself at a press conference, but the evidence against him was irrefutable. In the end, he had no choice but to admit that he had fabricated the accusations out of envy for Michael's success. Michael James has always been a better pianist than I cared to admit, he said, visibly shaken. I used my position to destroy him because I couldn't bear to see his talent recognized. Harold's public admission was the final touch in Michael's redemption. Now no one could question his innocence anymore. A week after the story was published, Michael was at Emma's house getting ready for his first television interview on national TV. Nervous? Asked Emma. Very. It's been so long since I've spoken publicly about music. It'll be just fine. You have an amazing story to tell. Daniel, Emma's husband, joined them in the living room. Michael, can I ask you a question? Of course. What do you plan to do now? Go back fully to the music world or keep teaching the children? Michael smiled. Both. I will never abandon the children again. They saved me as much as I helped them. And Ethan? Asked Emma. Ethan will continue to be my special student, and now I have the means to give him the best music education possible. That afternoon, Michael's interview was watched by millions of people. He told his story with emotion, spoke fondly of Mrs. Martha, and revealed his plans for the future. I want to create a foundation in Mrs. Martha's name, he told the interviewer, a foundation that offers free music lessons to underprivileged and special needs children. And how do you plan to fund this foundation? With the profits from my upcoming concerts and recordings, and with the help of generous people who believe in the transformative power of music. After the interview, Catherine approached Michael. Count on me for the foundation, she said. I want to be the first official donor. Catherine, you don't have to... Yes, I do. It's the least I can do to make up for the harm I caused you. You've already apologized. You owe nothing more. Yes, I do. I owe a whole lifetime of music that you lost because of prejudice like mine. Michael hugged Catherine. Then let's build this foundation together, so other children like Ethan can have opportunities I never had. 2 months later, Lincoln Center was packed for Michael James Wilson's grand comeback concert. All proceeds would go to the future Martha Johnson Foundation. Catherine had organized the event with the care of someone wanting to make amends for a mistake. Emma was in the front row next to Ethan and his mother. Daniel was filming everything to show his students later. When Michael appeared on stage, in a tuxedo with neatly cut hair, he barely resembled the shabby man who had asked to play for food 2 months earlier. "Good evening," he said into the microphone. "Before we begin, I want to dedicate this concert to all the people who believed in me when I had stopped believing in myself." He looked directly at Emma and Catherine, and especially to the memory of Mrs. Martha Johnson, who taught me that true music comes from the heart. The first notes echoed through the concert hall. It was the same piece Michael had played at the hotel, but now with the full power of a concert grand piano and the emotion of someone who had regained his dignity. During the performance, Ethan got up from his chair and began to conduct the orchestra, moving his little arms to the rhythm of the music. Several people in the audience were moved to see the child's reaction. In the second part of the concert, Michael invited Ethan on stage. "I want to introduce you to my most special teacher," he said. "Ethan taught me that music is about connection, not technique." The two played together a simplified version of one of Mrs. Martha's compositions. Ethan missed several notes, but his concentration and joy were contagious. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Catherine wept openly, remembering how she had mistreated that man who now moved hundreds of people. After the concert backstage, Michael was surrounded by admirers, journalists, and fellow musicians who wanted to congratulate him on his triumphant return. "Michael," said Rachel Parker, who had played violin as a special guest, "you're even better than before." "Thank you, Rachel. Pain taught me things success never did." "What things?" "Humility, gratitude, and the value of every opportunity." Emma approached with Ethan, who was still euphoric from the performance. "Uncle Michael," the boy shouted, "I played on stage." "Yes, you did, Ethan, and it was beautiful." "Can I play again?" "As many times as you want." Catherine also joined the group. "Michael, I have no words to describe what I feel right now." "Gratitude," he suggested, smiling. "Gratitude, and a tremendous desire to help so more people can have opportunities like the one you gave Ethan. Then let's work together at the foundation. We have much to do." In the following months, the Martha Johnson Foundation grew rapidly. Catherine used her contacts to secure donations and sponsors. Emma became the educational director. Michael taught classes and gave concerts to raise funds. Ethan wasn't just the foundation's first student, but also became its symbol. His performances, always moving in their authenticity, helped sensitize donors and volunteers. In its first year, the foundation served over 200 underprivileged and special needs children. Michael was fulfilling Mrs. Martha's dream, using music to transform lives. During one of the foundation's student performances, Michael was at the piano accompanying a visually impaired child singing one of Mrs. Martha's songs. Midway through the performance, he looked at the audience and saw moved faces, smiling children, parents crying with joy. It was exactly what he had always imagined as a child in Mrs. Martha's house. After the performance, he went to her grave for the first time since her death. "Mrs. Martha," he said, placing flowers on the grave, "you did it. Your songs are playing in the hearts of hundreds of children. And I kept my promise." The wind rustled the leaves of the surrounding trees, as if she were answering. "Thank you for believing in me when I was just a poor boy who dreamed of being a pianist. And thank you for teaching me that real music only exists when it's shared with love." Michael left the cemetery with a light heart. His life had come full circle. He had lost everything, hit rock bottom, but found people who helped him get back up. Catherine had learned to look beyond appearances. Emma had discovered that small gestures can change entire lives. Ethan had found his voice through music, and Michael had proven that no injustice is permanent, no talent is wasted forever. and that sometimes we need to lose everything to discover what truly matters. End of story. Now tell me, what did you think of the story of Michael, Catherine, and Ethan? Wasn't it moving to see how a simple act of playing the piano can change so many lives? Leave in the comments which part touched you the most, and if you know anyone who has gone through similar situations. Your opinion is very important, and don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories like this one.